Hey folks, welcome back. I'm Roger Ramsey, the Executive Chef Instructor here at the Culinary Pathway to Hardcast Schools Early College and Career Center. A dear friend, Mr. Bobby, he's in the back somewhere putting together a few things that we're going to cook for you today. Today we're just going to do pork. Specifically, we're going to do a pork butt. They look like this. We know it because we make barbecue out of it. We're going to do a few different things with it. All working from this one piece of meat. We're going to open it up, butterfly it out, make it Roman dish called porchetta. We're going to take some steaks cut from it with the bone in it and make a Monroe County barbecue. I think we've cooked the meat before, but we didn't do the dip. That's what makes it the key. And then Mr. Bobby, he's going to take some country style ribs, which really aren't ribs at all. It's a piece of meat right here. And he's going to braise those down. We're going to pair it up with a white bean ragu. So we're going to hang out with this. We're going to play with some pork, make some food, and have a pretty good time. And then I come back. Hi. And again, folks, this is a pork butt. It doesn't come from the butt of the pig as we know it. That's called a ham. This is actually part of the shoulder. So the way the animal's put together on his front end, not his back end, is what's called the pig neck. And it's this part of his arm. It's what some folks might not know any better call a front ham. So, but anyway, above the pig neck is the pork butt. And then you get the loin, and in the back end you get the ham and the shank and the hock. And so, but this is actually from the front shoulder of the pig, now what we know is the butt. There is a bone that runs through it, right here. For what we're doing with it today, right here, right now, we got to get that bone out. And simple matter, a sharp knife, a boning knife. It's called a boning knife because it's flexible, and you work your way around that bone. And do just that. Just push the tip of the knife down alongside the bone, let the bone go. Now, for this one, the porchetta, it's a Roman dish. It was traditionally done with the side of a pig. That is to say, the whole side of the pig. That is everything from the shoulder, the butt, to the ham. So it would be the back meat, the loin, it would be the belly, the skin, the ribs would be cut out, that whole stinking side of meat, everything from the pig neck, from the butt back to the ham. It would be taken, cleaned, laid out, seasoned profusely, rolled into a log, stitched closed, wrapped with twine, and then roasted off as a single unit. We didn't have an extra pig. We got pork butt. We're going to do the same thing, smaller piece to work with. But in the process of doing it, we've got to get that bone down. We've got to butterfly or open up this butt. What we're going to do is, where that bone runs through, I don't know which camera I'm looking at, where the bone runs through, we're just going to open it up right straight away from there. And to speed things along, I've already done it twice. When you get the bone out, it looks kind of like that. When you get the bone out and some butterfly, the meat looks something like that. So that is going to represent our whole side of a pig because, well, we don't have a whole side of a pig. We're going to season our pork with a collection of herbs. There's basil, oregano, rosemary, fennel seed, salt, black pepper, garlic powder, all in this mix right here. We made it in-house. Found a recipe on the internet somewhere. We kind of liked it. We made it. We tweaked it. We made it again. We kept it. So get it mixed up a little bit. And again, you season profusely. Folks will say, man, that's a lot of seasoning. Well, that's a lot of pork. You got to make it taste good. Uh-huh. And for good measure, you gotta make it taste good. more salt. Now, what we have here, what we haven't talked about are little stainless steel bits. It's a salt and pepper blend. It saves seasoning twice because we've got our salt and pepper combined together. We use a blend of about 3 parts salt, 1 part pepper, and it's just handy to have. Now, we've got all those herbs. We've got a little bit of spices. We've got salt and pepper. Next, we're going to add, of all things, some oranges. Because that's the way the Romans did it. And you know, when in Rome at all. So, now we're going to take this thing, try our best to roll them back up into a log. Because that's what the other one would look like. Now, we're not going to stitch him up because, well, he's not that big. But we're not going to roll him up with twine and truss him up and secure him that way. Give me just 1 minute to wash these nasty hands, and I'll be right back. We'll put some strings on. Okay, when it comes to trussing our piece of pig, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. Easiest way, cut you a bunch of lengths of butcher's twine. Put a double loop in them, tighten them down, and tie it off with a square. That's the easiest way to do it. Quicker way, pull off a length, quite a length, of butcher's twine. Turn them away from you. Start with a double loop. Make it a square knot. We kind of did that earlier. This is where things change. Now, lay your hand out and twist your thumb and your finger around and pull the string out with the wrong way. And it gives you a loop. You slide the loop up underneath your meat. And pull it down. Do it again. So hook your pinky, bring it over top of your hand, and then your strings underneath when you tie them. It should have been. It's kind of like tying a tie. It's hard to explain, it's easy to do. Now, if you happen to have a barbecue at the house that has a rotisserie attachment, this is a great piece of meat for that device. You run a rod straight down the middle. Once you get them all trussed up, run that rod straight down the middle. Hook your tabs and let them go. Get that a little short. So we have one relatively trussed up pork butt, turned pork head. Well seasoned on the inside, but nothing on the outside. We got to make the outside taste good too. This is going to be salt and pepper. Now, of all the things I do have in my wonderful kitchen, I do not have a rotisserie. This is going to go into a roasting pan and into a low slow oven, and it's going to cook about 250, 275 degrees, probably for about 3 or 4 hours. So I would expect y'all to wait for that. Give me a minute to get it started, and we'll move right along with something else. Stop.
Welcome back to EC3 Really Cooks. Today we're doing pork dishes And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna braise some country style pork ribs. Braising is a combination method of cooking. We will start with higher heat, and then we will finish off with cooking in liquid at a lower temperature. This probably will take about 2 hours to finish up. We have our pork ribs. We've patted them dry, cleaned them up. We're gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper here to them. Then what we're gonna do is add them to our pan. We've already had this on pretty high heat. Now in your pork ribs, one thing that find out, there are sometimes bones. Just make sure you remember that when you're going to eat them. I'm gonna add some more salt and pepper. And we're not trying to cook these ribs all the way through. We're trying to brown each side. We kind of want to lock in the pork flavor. So this part will go pretty quickly. And you can braise just about anything. Braising is really good when you're dealing with cuts of meat that are tougher. I know we did something with a pork butt earlier. That's a little bit tougher. You've got to cook that a little bit longer. The same with these ribs. And the lower heat, the longer you're able to cook these. Actually, it makes them more tender. Again, we're not trying to cook these all the way through. So we're going to pull these ribs out. Then all we're doing is trying to brown it on the sides. Set this off. We're gonna add a little bit more oil to our pan. This is a Rondon cooking pan, which is a really, really large pan. We have one that actually we have to use that takes 2 burners to use. Oil in here is pretty hot. We're gonna add in our onions. We're gonna add about a half of these carrots and our celery. We're gonna sweat these down. Now by sweating, we just mean we're going to cook it until they soften. Add the rest of our salt and pepper here. In a pan like this, and as hot as this is, this will really only take 2 or 3 minutes. Again, you're looking for the celery. They become a little bit softer, the carrots a little bit softer. The onions, they will turn somewhat of a opaque, almost clear color. You don't really want these to sit in one spot very long. They can burn. And when they burn, it actually, that burn taste will transfer into the sauce that we'll make later, and then also the pork ribs when we put those in. Now, a lot of times what we would do is we would normally use a Dutch oven, which is just a, the ones that we use here are ceramic coated. They're really good. You can stick them actually in an oven or cook them on the cooktop. What we will do today is after we make this, we'll actually cover this rondone with a topper, and we can cook it in there and it'll have the same results. If you're at home doing this, a Dutch oven is very, very helpful. And again, it's all going to be done in one pot, which makes the cleanup a lot easier. I'm going to add in our garlic. Again, garlic cooks pretty quickly, and it burns pretty easily. So you do want to make sure you have this mixed in with the rest of your vegetables. Take about a minute. It should just about be ready. You'll notice there are some brown spots in the bottom of your pan that came from the pork when we were browning it. That's okay. Here in just a moment, we're going to do its deglazing of the pan. You can do that. We're going to do it today with some apple cider vinegar. A lot of people will use a wine of some sort. Just a liquid in general will help deglaze the bottom of the pan. And those little brown pieces actually are really, really flavorful and will add another layer of flavor to your dish. Do what? Yeah. Make sure I don't burn myself. So as it is right now, you see that the onions are starting to turn a little bit more clear. The green from the celery, it was very bright. It's now starting to dull down. The carrots are getting a little bit softer. And then I talked about the brown bits. Those are up here. And here in just a moment, we're gonna deglaze this and get all of that out of there. Now I got our tomato paste into it. And then also our bay leaves. Oh, not yet. We'll do that in just a second. Tomato paste will burn, so you do need to stir it in. Get it really incorporated with your vegetables. Takes a few minutes for it to kind of incorporate all together. It's just a little bit of a red tint on everything. Now we're going to deglaze with, again, we're using apple cider vinegar. If you notice, we were able to take those brown spots out of there, which is what you want. Now we're going to add some crushed red pepper. This does not add a lot of spice to it. It is good to add in. It does add some flavor to it. We're also going to add in some bay leaves, just a couple. One thing you need to know, bay leaves, they're not a prize. It's not, you're lucky if you get it. Bay leaves don't have any, actually they have a really, really bitter taste. You don't want to eat it. It adds some flavor in, but try not to eat it. If you've ever eaten a bay leaf, you'll understand what we're saying. We tell you not to. So at some point, we'll actually remove those from the cooking process. All right. Everything's kind of together now. What we're going to do is we're going to add back in our pork ribs. And again, we didn't cook these all the way through. They still have some cooking to do. And now we will add in 2.5 cups of chicken stock. And you're wanting to get this about halfway up the sides of the pork ribs. When I tilt this to you, you're not going to be able to see it as well. But we will have our cooking liquid, and then our ribs will stay there. We're going to bring this to a simmer, which again, a simmer around the outsides of the edges. You'll start to see a lot of bubbles forming up. That's a simmer. So this is actually where we want to keep it at. We're going to lower the temperature on our pan, and we are going to cover it. And when we get back at the end of the show, we'll show you what the finished product looks like.
Well, folks, our pork day. See, I've got porchetta. It's fixing to go in the oven. It's going to cook 3 or 4 hours. It's good food. It's not fast food. Mr. Bobby's put together those braised country style ribs. Again, they're not really ribs. They come from the butt. And that's going to cook at least a couple, maybe 3 hours. So let's see if we can speed something up a little bit. I'm going to do for you what is called Monroe County style barbecue. The only place I've ever seen Monroe County style barbecue is a little place in Bowling Green called the Smoky Pig. Turn off at the Corvette Museum, drive up the bypass a couple miles, it's on the left. It is a steak cut from that pork butt. You generally don't see that outside of Kentucky, I've been told, because there's a number of different muscle masses in there. You wouldn't think they would cook at the same rate. That's why we always cook low and slow. Opposite of that, you cook it hot and fast is what we're going to do today. So these are those steaks. And here's that's scapula bone. There's one muscle mass, another, there's one, fat cap. Oh, it's just a mess. But it's a pretty tasty piece of meat. All we're going to do with our steaks, with salt, pepper, both sides. You start to get warm, that fat stretching out. Salt, pepper. Now you notice I've got a bin set off to the side. This is our dip, or our seasoning, or our sauce. I'm not really sure what you're going to call it, but it's what we're going to use. This is nothing more than butter, vinegar, touch of sugar, a little salt, cayenne pepper, black pepper, and Frank's hot sauce. So it's vinegar and 3 different kind of peppers. It's a little sharp, it's a little spicy. So let's take our sauce, dip, marinade, seasoning stuff and our steaks, and let's go over to the char griller. Oh, if you'll notice, there's a little bowl of the same stuff. Sauce, marinade, dip, whatever. Reason being, I'm going to dip these uncooked pieces of meat into this one. That one's going to be held out uncontaminated so it can be used when we serve. So let's go over to the char griller real quick. We'll sit that right there. Okay. Char griller is good and hot. We're going to put just a little bit of oil on our steaks because we don't want them to stick. And down he goes. And down he goes. And you guessed it, down he goes. Now we're going to cook them for a couple of minutes as they lay. Try to get some grill marks on them. Once they get those grill marks, we're going to dip them in the sauce, turn them 90 degrees or so, put them back down and try to get some more grill marks. Altogether, it's going to cook probably about 4 or 5 minutes on each side. It's still pork. We don't want to overcook it. It will dry out. It'll be tough and chewy. We don't want that. We want a nice, luscious piece of meat. So keep an eye on that for me, okay? I'll be right back. Now, if your meat sticks when you go try to turn it, it's telling you it doesn't want to be turned yet. So if it's sticking, leave it alone. Didn't stick too bad. Into our dip sauce, marinade, seasoning, and back on the grill. You can see it didn't go down at the same angle it came up. That's trying to get the grill marks on it. That's why people know it's been grilled. It's got grill marks. And we'll give that 2 or 3 minutes. We'll dip it again, turn it, do the same thing to the second side we did to the first. If we did it right, it should be done. Should be. Grill marks. I get lucky once in a while. So you start off with just salt and pepper. You lubricate the meat so it won't stick on the grill. Then each time you turn it, which will be 3 times because you'll have 4 sides. Each time you turn it, you dip it in the sauce, marinade, seasoning, stuff. Actually, the recipe just calls it a dip. And that is pretty much, as they say, that. They're kind of done. I'm going to put just another base on them and let that the dip, sauce, marinade, whatever, evaporate off, just to give it a little extra sharpness. But they're ready to eat. Everything else is hours and hours. This is minutes. Well, folks, that's our pork day here at EC3. We've got Mr. Bobby's braised pork. I went in when nobody was looking. I snuck some white beans in there to serve together. So I guess we have pork and beans out. Our Monroe County barbecue, I don't know that it's as good as Smoky Pigs, but it ain't bad. And our porchetta. So y'all recall it, we took that pork butt, took the bone out, butterflied it, stuffed it with a bunch, what looked like too much seasoning, but it's okay, it's just right. And some orange, and there you go. That's our pork butts. We don't necessarily just have to barbecue. We could do other things. So, come back and see us soon. I'm Roger Ramsey, Chef Executive, Hardin County Schools Early College and Career Center. It's been a long damn time. If you need any catering goods, give us a call, okay? Our kids sustain their own pathway through a catering operation. The email, phone number, they'll be attached at the end of the show. Y'all take care. I'm gonna go sit down. I'm tired.